It's February 1st, 1981, the MCG. It's the Benson and Hedges World Series Finals. It's locked at 1-1. Australia have made 235 for 4 off their 50 overs. But somehow, New Zealand, in their beige, the battlers have made their way to the final over, still in the contest. They need 15 off 6 balls.
Yeah.
Richard Hadley, Sir Richard, the Lionheart, hits the first ball down the ground for 4. This is magnificent. 11 off 5 now New Zealand need. It's right in the balance. The pressure's on Greg Chappell, the Aussie skipper. Hadley gets given out, LBW, second ball of the over for a ball that pitches a metre outside leg. The home umpire couldn't get his finger up quickly enough. Unbelievable. And then who walks to the crease?
Strides.
Ian David Stockley-Smith.
Yes.
And we have him on the phone right now. 4 balls remaining, Smithy. 11 runs needed at the MCG.
Yeah,
Yes. You can do it.
Yeah, well, I think not, but I'd certainly give it a go. MCG small. I'd rate my chances. The MCG smaller now.
Yeah, that's true. The ropes are in now. But back then, how big were the boundaries?
Oh, look, it was incredibly big. We hadn't played on a ground of that nature. Of course, we come from back in those days. We did use rugby grounds that were converted in the summer. Carisbrook, Lancaster Park, Eden Park, and it was only the Basin Reserve, which was a real oval as such. So we hadn't seen or played on anything of that nature. To give you an idea, it had a drain going all around just inside the fence. If the ball went in the drain, it was 4. If the ball hit the fence on the full, it was 4. You had to clear the fence for 6. That was an amazing hit.
Wow.
Amazing hit.
Yeah, and not one person had done it in this game. 450 runs were scored. Not one person had hit a 6. And Smithy, you tried. So with 11 off 4, what were you trying to do at that point in time?
Well, my great mate was at the other end, just twiddling his thumbs. He was 100 not out, Brucey Edgar.
Yeah.
Look, I tried to hit boundary. I really did try to hit boundaries. Brucey wasn't a huge boundary hitter, but he was in control of the situation. At the very least, I wanted to get the strike back to him, but I kept hitting it in places where it wouldn't go for 4, but I couldn't turn down a second run. So that in the end, I think I got 2 twos, and they were scrambly sort of twos. And then with 2 balls to go, I played the most god-awful cricket shot in the history of mankind and got out. And that was orthodox bowling from Trevor Chappell. It was not quick, nothing like quick. I mean, he was... not even Gavin Larson pace, really. So there wasn't a lot of pace on the ball, but there was no bounce either. That was the problem. It just didn't go anywhere, so he couldn't really get the bat under the ball. So it was a shocking cricket shot. And in the end, guys play it these days, they make $1 million in the IPL, but in those days it was a filthy slog, and I missed.
Yeah.
Speaking of no bounce, Smitty, so then the next ball, when McKechnie comes out, how much faith did you guys have of him coming in and doing the job that no one else could at that time?
I was sort of in a state of shock, fellas, because I basically missed that opportunity. I mean, I got us to a situation where by getting out then, we couldn't win the game. We needed 6 to tie. So mathematically, I hadn't done my job. So I'm only a kid then, hell. I think I was 22, 23 years of age. I've never experienced anything like this. So I was walking off, and Colt was walking past me, and he had his New Zealand cap on, and very proudly. And back in those days, the MCG was a slightly different configuration. You had to walk up a set of stairs through the playing viewing area and down to the dressing room. So I'm sort of walking up those stairs, and Colt's gone past me, and I'm sort of disappointed because I'd missed out. And then all of a sudden I saw Jeff Howard run past me, and he had socks on, he had his beige trousers on and a T-shirt, and I thought, what the hell's going on there? And when I got upstairs, I sort of still didn't quite figure what was going on. Went through the viewing room where the bulk of the players were, and down a set of stairs into the playing grounds, and then all of a sudden all hell let loose upstairs. So I went back up with my pads on, and there were cups flying and all sorts of expletives going around the room, and some very angry people. And he bowled underarm, and Jeff had gone out to say, "Well, look, mate, it's not legal. You can't do that." But he was quoting the English cricket rules where it was illegal. But Aussie, of course, and even I think in New Zealand at that time, it wasn't illegal. So he'd gone out to plead the case. He missed out, and we've all seen the pictures of what happened. Did I really think that Colt could hit it out of Brian McKechnie could hit it out of the ground? No.
No, those are the kind of facts or points that we kind of, as New Zealand cricket fans, Smithy, forget or don't want to remember or don't recount vividly because we're just outraged. The symbolism of that photo of him rolling it along just reinforced how much of an inferiority complex we had to Australian cricket and Australian sports.
And we've just had some, controversy on some other radio stations of people pulling advertising. Did Benson and Hedges ever think, they're going to pull their advertising after that kind of situation?
Hell no, they chuck more cartons of smokes in the dressing room every day.
My
That
goodness.
was the best thing. You could have 3 or 4 guys in the side were genuine smokers, and it was like lotto for them every morning. They just rolled them in, one after the other, and the big boys would grab them all. And those of us that didn't smoke, we didn't see a lot of benefit from it. We got a paycheck every now and then, but no, that was the highlight of the day for a lot of the guys. The Benson and Hedges man knocking on the door, but they wouldn't have pulled it because. I guess, even bad advertising is good advertising back in those days. And, people will always remember it was the Benson and Hedges series. Yet how many sponsors has that cricket or whatever had in that time that you've forgotten, over the years? So it's always the B&H.
Absolutely. And Smithy, if you were, say, you don't get out and you have to face that last ball, Brian McKechnie went for the block and the throw the bat. What do you think you would have done?
I probably, like an idiot, would have tried to hit it for 6.
Big old slog.
I thought about what you could do, Mull. You remember the old scoop bat back?
Yeah.
The scoop back, the bat with the scoop in the back of it?
Yep.
Because I was using one of those. I was a Grey Nichols contractee at the time. So I thought about afterwards, what would you do? You could try and, if you hit the ball twice, you're out hitting the ball twice. So if you could possibly run it up the back of the scoop and lodge it in the scoop, right, and then run across the outfield to mid-wicket and drop it over the fence.
This is good logic.
Dodging tacklers on the way and sending people off.
A little sidestep, yeah.
I like it.
Logistically impossible, to do. But look, what would you do? I'm 23-year-old kid. What would you be thinking? What would go through your mind? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the only thing Colt didn't do right was pick up that ball and put it in his pocket because he'd be a millionaire now.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
What a
as
souvenir.
Well. Hey, now, Smithy, did you guys have much to do with the Aussies between the games, the one days? Did you travel together? Did you talk about it? Did anyone was there anger? Was there frustration?
Yeah, you had to play them 2 days later, didn't you?
Did it boil over?
Game 4.
Well, we had no idea how big it was. I mean, we knew it was unpleasant and it wasn't the right way to finish a game of cricket, but it really wasn't till we got back to the hotel and picked up the papers even the next day, where I think Prime Minister had got involved and that sort of thing, that it became such a sort of, almost a global issue. And I remember in the dressing room, we drank for quite some time. You always had a few beers afterwards, and usually you would have the Marshes and those boys, great guys to have Lilies, those guys, always good to have a beer with afterwards, but not that night. The doors stayed closed fast, and I think there was a group of them that were highly disappointed and embarrassed about what had happened and didn't want to really, they didn't want to gauge out.
Rob Marsh was behind the wickets just shaking his head the whole time, wasn't he? Just going, don't do this.
We didn't know how to gauge what they felt, and they wouldn't have known how angry or disappointed or what we were. So, Greg Chappell, of course, became, the most hated man in 2 countries, really. I don't think Australians liked them too much at all. And so I remember we didn't see much of them until the next game, and that was at the SCG. It was a day-night game. And he came out to bat. We got a wicket or 2 early on. He came out to bat to a chorus of boos from around the ground, which was quite rare to have one of their great players to be booed like that. And he scored a majestic innings, and he got them out of trouble, and he got a standing ovation off. So we thought, hello, situation back normal.
Well, one of the great serves on air was after that game by the impeccable Richie Benaud, and he absolutely gave it to his own team. And this is very un-Australian to serve it up to you. They never criticise. They hardly ever criticise their own, especially on their own television. Have a listen to Richie Benaud, Smithy.
I think it was a disgraceful performance from a captain who got his sums wrong today, and I think it should never be permitted to happen again. We keep reading and hearing that the players are under a lot of pressure and that they're tired and jaded and perhaps their judgment and their skill is blunted. Well, perhaps they might advance that as an excuse for what happened out there today. Not with me, they don't. I think it was a very poor performance, one of the worst things I have ever seen done on a cricket field. Good night.
Good night.
Well, and when you hear it, you just get your head goosebumps. I got goosebumps now listening to that amazing man's voice. So to be able to go through all that stuff and then spend probably 6-7 years of my life working alongside him in England and in Australia, wow, can he sum up a moment in the short space of time? He was a genius.
And how are you feeling about this summer, Smithy? And we haven't heard your voice commentating cricket. It's weird for being a New Zealander and not hearing you doing cricket commentary. So how are you feeling about that whole situation?
Oh, I got FOMO to begin with, fear of missing out. And it was hard. It's been my life, really. I mean, this has been my first summer off. I first started playing first-class cricket back in about 1975. And we used to play over Christmas break, New Year break. I played for Central District. And then straight in the commentary box when I finished. It's my first summer off doing normal things, I suppose, since 1975. What's that, 45 years. So
Wow.
I've done stupid things like go to the beach, play golf, have beers with my friends. I didn't realise that was so much fun.
Instead of having to have a wine with Mark Richardson, you can actually drink with people you like.
Yeah.
What kind of... Is that a WHIN, are you, Mel?
Yeah.
So do you have the radio on while you're cooking the barbie, or have you stayed away from the cricket, or have you been watching the Black Caps?
I've stayed away from it a wee bit. I will say, I'm a Sky guy, so I have been enthralled by Australia versus India. And next year, of course, it's the Ashes in Australia, which Sky have got again. So, I've been watching some cricket. I haven't paid a lot of attention, but I've seen the scores, and I don't need to actually watch to know how good Kane Williamson is. I don't need to watch to know that the New Zealand cricket side is a very good side at the moment, and probably 90+% sure of going to the World Championship final.
Yeah.
So look, I wish them all the best, and that's all. I've missed it, but hey, look, life moves on, and you guys as full well know. The media is a job that it's only a phone call away or a knock on the door, and everything can change. So it didn't offer me for 28, 30 years or something. I was able to enjoy myself in the commentary box. So if it's cricket overseas and Sky were able to bring it in instead of Spark, there's a chance I could be in some commentary teams. But hey, you just got to get on with it, don't you?
And the cricket season's basically rugby season anyway now. You'll be ready to go back to work soon, won't you?
Yeah, I'm in the Canes' first game at home on the 27th at, can I say it out loud, Sky Stadium in Wellington. So, so that's my first game of rugby. I think I've got about 10 games of Aotearoa rugby to begin with. And then after that, we haven't got any schedules for All Black games and things. And then, of course, I'm a Hawke's Bay guy, so we've got the Shield, so I look forward to about September, October, holding on to that again.
And isn't it funny, 40 years on, Australia, the underarm, but they're still at it. We had the sandpaper thing, and then we had Tim Payne being an absolute punisher. They just, under pressure, Smithy, the Aussies they never change.
Yeah.
Look, if you look back over time, and any crap that's happened on a cricket field of a poor nature, 90% is a common denominator, isn't there? To be fair, 90%. And it's just the way they are. It's the way they play the game. But with technology, of course, they get found out a lot quicker and a lot more often, and they have to learn. And I'm sure Cricket Australia, and there's some wonderful people work for them, and there's great people involved close to the cricket team as well. I'm sure there's a constant message to be careful and just that life's changed out in the middle. Life has changed. You can say and think what you like, but if you do that, if you say it out loud, you've got to suffer the consequences. Yeah. And one or two of them are quite lucky that they didn't get a game or two off, I feel.
Yes. Absolutely. So let's have a look at that World Test Championship final just before we let you go. Who do you want the Black Caps to play at Lords? England, India or Australia?
Look, I'd quite like to play England because there's a bit of retribution involved. Last time we were at Lords, it didn't go too well, did it? We missed out by a regulation. So I'd quite like to play them. But I'd also, something at the back of me says getting Australia out twice and beating Australia in the World Championship final wouldn't. But any of those three would be wonderful adversaries. At the moment, I'm thinking it'll probably be India and New Zealand. I'm not quite sure how much cricket they're going to get in South Africa with what's going on with COVID. There'll be a big decision made on that shortly whether Australia go there. At the moment, because of how things lie, I think the favourites would be India to play New Zealand.
Smithy, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear your voice, and thank you so much for your recollections. And we look forward to hearing you on Super Rugby Aotearoa's coverage as well.
I look forward to it. Hey, Miles, and hey, guys, it's been fantastic. Great reminiscing. Result never changed, but 40 years on, eh? Amazing.
I just have that visual now of Smithy running with the ball on the back of his scooped bat and tossing it over the boundary, and we tie that game.
Yes.
So thanks, Smithy. Great work.
Try it. See if it works. Let me know.